which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Text 12, chapter 7. Ye chaiva sattva bhava rajasas tamasaschaye mata eveti tan vidhi natvaham te shute mai. All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature. Text 13. Triya gunamaya bhavar epi sarvam idam jagat mohitam napi janati mam ebhya paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Oh, what do you mean? Enlighten me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. What? There's no way. Last week I gave class, it was on chapter 6. Text 14. Should just continue? Hare Krishna. I mean, I'm confused that last week I was speaking and it was definitely on chapter 6 and it was maybe not into chapter 7 yet, but I don't remember. But is there a way we can look up the class from Friday? We probably should have done this already. I'm not trying to discredit you, especially you took notes, but because I think we didn't get there yet. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You're looking it up? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. This will take some time, or you're like, I'm just gonna keep reading. We'll just go from here and figure it out later. Daivi Shagunamai Mamaya Taratyaya Mami Veye Prapadyante Mayamitam Tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Text 15. Namam dushkritino mudha prapatyante naradama Maya parita jnana asuram bhavam ashritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest amongst mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Text 16. Chatur vidhabjante mam jana sukritino arjuna artho jikyasur ardharti jnani cha bharatarshabha. O best among the Bharatas, Arjun, four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. 17. Tesham gyani nitya yukta eka bhakti vishishyate priyo hi gyani no tyartam aham sacha mama priyaha. Of these, the wise one who is in full knowledge is in union with me. Oh, the wise one who is in full knowledge and union with me through pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him, and he is very dear. He is dear to me. Text 18. Udara sarva evai te jnani tvatmaiva me matam astitasahi yuktatma mam evanutamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider verily to dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. That's very nice. Text 19. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma saturlabha. After many births and deaths, he was actually in knowledge, surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. In text 20. Kamaistaistarhita jnana prapatyante nyadevata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyatasvaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Back to text 10. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Purport. Bijam means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. In contact with material nature, the seed fructifies into various living entities, movable and inert. Birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8,400,000 species of life. Some of them are moving and some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna. As stated in Vedic literature, Brahman, or the supreme absolute truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Parabrahman, supreme spirit. Brahman is impersonal, Parabrahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect. That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, originally, Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root. As the root of a tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. Yatova imani bhutani jayante. The supreme absolute truth is that from which everything is born. He is the prime eternal among all eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all living entities, and he alone is maintaining all life. Krishna also says that he is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. Maharaj, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Seed. Seed is the ultimate intelligent design. It's the scientists and philosophers may go on speculating and debating whether there's some intelligence behind the the universe? And Krishna is answering, yes. I'm the intelligence of all the intelligence. I'm the designer of all the seeds. 8,400,000 seeds of living entities. Because they're all seeds, whether they come from, even if they come from an embryo, it comes originally from seeds. There's seeds and eggs and perspiration. These are different ways that living entities can get their bodies, but ultimately they're some kind of seed that is given. And it's a kind of prototype of the Lord. Lord is the supreme male. He's not just male. He's the supreme male in that he's the seed-giving father of all living entities. So he's the one who creates the seeds for elephants, for trees, for aquatics. That means he's the supreme father. And material nature is the mother. And so Krishna, as the supreme father, he impregnates Prakriti. And then Prakriti, she supplies, Mother Nature supplies the bodies, the material bodies. In the spiritual world, the living entities also have bodies, but their bodies are made of spiritual constituents, not material. In this world, our bodies are made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, and intelligence. But spiritual bodies are made of Satchidananda, serenity, knowledge, and bliss. And they're not made by material energy, and they're eternal, but they're working under the auspices of Yogamaya, the internal potency. It's like if, say, the head of some big institute, say the head of a nation, he has his inner circle. His inner circle are those who are very close to him, family members and fellow politicians and things. So they have a certain clearance, a certain level of security clearance. They're always allowed to participate with the president, wherever he goes, wherever he does. And they're so much trusted that they're not checked, inspected to see if they're carrying some weapons. Or if they invite some friends to come, then automatically the friends are allowed to come because. So this is the internal potency of the president. It's internal, it's a law, it's a rules, it's regulations. But most people don't even know about it. And most people, if they want to go close to the president and sit where he's sitting, they have to get permission, they have to get passes, they have to be checked, security, they have to be escorted, they have And it's a whole thing. Because they're not under the internal potency. So they have a different system they have to go through. But Krishna doesn't have any, there's no rules, no regulations controlling him at all. He's totally independent. And he gives some indication here. He says, I'm the seed of all existences. All the seeds come from him. And the seeds are amazing. Without these seeds, what would we eat? We have to have some food. And even the body we have is also coming from the seed. So we have these bodies. Material world, we're proud of these bodies. They are extraordinary in that they're so detailed and brilliantly designed. How can you question that there must be intelligent design? But what they say is there's no design at all. It's just happening accidentally. Without any intelligence, without a plan. That's contradictory. Because then they tell us that the bodies are made of different cells and proteins and molecules, and it's very elaborately designed, and it works very systematically. Has to be systematic. Oh, how can it go on working for 70 or 100 years unless it's well designed? It's difficult to get automobiles to run for so long, even with our best brains. But these bodies not only do all that, but they reproduce. They eat food, and they don't require any excess outside fuel, outside the ecosystem. It's a brilliant arrangement. How the sun is evaporating moisture from all over the universe and instilling its own rays, which are very, very good. Just the sun alone, according to the Puranas, sun says that the Puranas say that the sun has about 100,000 rays. It's like we know of a few of them: gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays. We know a few. But there are rays coming from the sun that they produce things like snow. It's also coming from the sun. These are some of the amazing things of just this material energy. What to speak of the spiritual energy? Spiritual energy is totally difficult to understand because it's eternal. It has no beginning and it has no end. They are trying to come up with some kind of energy that keeps keeping itself going without having any outside energy. But they haven't been able to design that yet. But the living entities are such, they are exactly that. They're designed to run forever. We don't know what the system is, the technology, but just because we can't understand the technology doesn't mean that we can't appreciate it. It's very exalted, very sophisticated. If we can't If we can't do it, we would have to admit it. And it's being done, and we don't know how it's being done. It seems like we should admit that this is a higher intelligence. Because we'd like to have it. We'd like to have the technology that allows us to live forever. You don't find any, you find so many hospitals. What are they doing in the hospitals? They're not trying to get people to die faster. They want them to live. They want them to, they're trying to cure the diseases, not make more diseases. So they don't like death. They don't like disease. They have so much money they spend on trying to find cures for different medicines for different diseases. They don't like disease. But they can't stop it. But it is stopped. In the spiritual world, we learn from the Vedas, most authoritative books available. They explain it. There's a place, Parastaspat, Bhavunyo, Vyakta Vyaktat Sanatana. There's another abode of mind, Krishna says, where he lives. There's no death, there's no beginning, there's no end. And everyone there is living happily. They don't need anything material to exist. They don't need to have food or electricity or. So we have a difficult time understanding how such a place could exist. That means we should accept that this is a higher design. The truly great scientists do accept that there's a great intelligence behind everything in the universe. It's not happening accidentally. It's common sense. So,
Jai, thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, we hear in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna, he describes Arjuna is asking which is the better of paths, and Krishna, I don't know it verbatim, but he says more or less one who takes the analytical study versus, this, I don't know exactly what he says. Anyways, through Sankhya, analytical study of the universe, one can also come to a conclusion that God is there, and our life should be directed towards understanding Him. Similarly, Maharaj is saying, a good scientist will see that. And a lot of people don't believe in God because it's not something they could tangibly grasp with their senses, with their mind, but they can grasp of nature. And, everybody could see nature. There's this driving force of something that's bigger than us. That there's a tree, the tree grows, it produces a fruit. Within that fruit, there's seeds. Within that seed is potential for more trees to grow and more seeds and fruit from that to grow. So that potency of nature is definitely beyond ourselves. But Krishna, we heard in the previous chapter, he said this nature is coming from me. It's earth, water, air, ether, so on, mind, intelligence. It's all coming from me. So as devotees, instead of looking at the material world and trying to wonder what's there and go beyond, we just hear directly from the Vedas. And then very easily, we can meditate and see Krishna's hand within all features of life. And this way, it saves us so much time, stress, and energy. It's like, if we're having a competition, like a scavenger hunt, and there's like a list and there's all these things, you have to go find it. And somebody could tell you like, look, I have the map, I have the answers right here. And you really want the prize. You can skip over all the nonsense of, running over there and looking here and looking there. Similarly, if we take to the Vedas, we don't have to go looking and hear from this person or hear from that person or try this or try that, because we're hearing from the most authoritative source. And by implementing that into our life, one can develop sufficient realization to see. Krishna, he said here that he's describing the modes of material nature, how these emanate from him and how he's above that. So I always remember when I first heard the Bhagavad Gita, I thought, okay, this is nice. This is another philosophy, another way of looking at life. There's many different ways of looking at it from different angles of vision. So this is their take on it. But then very quickly, upon hearing of the modes of material nature and how they act, how they work, you could see that this isn't just another speculative philosophy. It's actually giving a complete picture of what's going on, and you could see it firsthand. You can experience it. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So,
can you make sure she gets some kind of prasada? Anyways, does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts? Yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
I have a couple questions, but I'd like to give other people a chance to ask, and some are kind of philosophical and are less important to be answered right away. But the most practical question that came up was hearing you talk about how we must hear the Vedas, because then we can see Krishna's hand. And this got me thinking about the Bhagavatam, how this is like the last word of the Vedas, and like the commentary, and how really everything's in there. But we see that Prabhupada sometimes quotes from these other more, different Puranas and Upanishads, and how important is it that we uncover these in our journey? Is this something that maybe happens as one gets further down the road?
The acharyas reveal to us everything. They've done all the hard work for us. It's not that I have to separately endeavor and go search through all the Vedas and all the Puranas so I can become a big scholar. If one has that propensity and that's their designated service in some way, good. But point is that service has already been done by the six Goswamis. In their works, you can look in the Chaitanya Charitamrita alone, how many quotes there are from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Bhagavad Gita, and from other scriptures. There was no database, no computers, no Google to search and type this. But he quoted hundreds upon hundreds of verses from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures. So they scrutinizingly studied all the scriptures and took the essence and showcase what the conclusion of them was. So Prabhupada similarly has studied all the works of the acharyas and presented those works for us very easily. So just by reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports and seeing these quotations from these different texts is enough to give us the essence of showing us what's really being said throughout the Vedas. Otherwise, people study the Vedas and they don't even come to the conclusion. What is it Krishna says? It's 15:15. Vedanta Veda Krit Veda Vedanta Veda Veda Vedanta Krit Veda Veda Eva Chaham. I am to be known of the Vedas. The Vedas, the conclusion is to know me. That's the goal of the Vedas. So these acharyas, they're giving us that conclusion of the Vedas. And, we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, like you nicely pointed out, in the beginning, Narada Muni is chastising his disciple Vyasadeva because he compiled all these Vedic literatures, but didn't even make the conclusion crystal clear of what really is to be done. What's the highest goal? So my point is, we don't have to separately endeavor, but just by hearing from Prabhupada and, eventually if we venture into more works of the acharyas, then they have all that knowledge there. Because even if I have, a whole computer and database and to like go through all of that and try to find all these shlokas that corroborate these points, it's so difficult. And they did it all without that, just for our benefit. This is essentially one of this lines of this Shad Goswami Astakam, this 8 prayers glorifying 6 Goswamis.
Sadharma Samstapako Lokana Itakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Kopi Bhavas. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, so everything I was saying was basically coming from that. The whole mood. They've given us everything. They've done the hard work. So what do we have to do? We just serve Guru, hear from Prabhupada, hear from Prabhupada's bona fide representatives, and share it with others. And the more we share, the more we serve, the more Krishna becomes pleased with us by our sincere endeavor to please him, please the spiritual master. Then there's never want of anything. One feels fulfilled. And, if there are propensities to study more, study all the works of Srila Prabhupada, study the works of the acharyas, Krishna's Kaviraj. He gave us this Chaitanya Chaitamrita, which Prabhupada translated. So much nectar in there, just conversations of Lord Chaitanya, and it's quoting different scriptures to confirm and validate points. Anyways, you had another question or point? Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, back to Ada.
Can you maybe say again the purpose of the mantra, the Maha Mantra? I heard it and I understand it. I just want to hear it again after hearing this.
The purpose or like the translation?
Purpose.
Like the meaning?
The role in
purpose.
Yeah, the role, yeah.
Okay. It's a very nice question. It's important to know, because it's important to know what we're doing. We spend so much time chanting Hare Krishna. So it's nice to know why we're chanting Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada described this Maha Mantra to be like the effect of a baby calling out for its mother. A baby is crying. The mother hears and is instantly just absorbed, like, oh, my baby, I have to take care of my baby. So similarly, we're stuck in the material world, which is filled with problems. So we're calling out to Krishna, Krishna, please help me. Krishna, please engage me in service. Krishna, please pick me up. So this is the meaning, one could say. Krishna, Krishna, please give me service. Please engage me in your, transcendental activity. Please deliver me. So then, what does that look like? Krishna gives us service. Krishna brings us back to the spiritual world. So the purpose is to purify our consciousness and attract Krishna. By attracting Krishna's mercy, Krishna's blessings come, and then more purification comes eternally so. And from such purification, the heart becomes enlivened, we become ecstatic, we become convinced of this philosophy. It's not that we're battling with our mind and thinking, oh, am I doing the right thing? This is good, but I want to do this, I want to do that. You become crystal clear that what Krishna says is for our best interests. becomes crystal clear. So then you chant Hare Krishna, and the result of chanting Hare Krishna is more chanting Hare Krishna, because it's described, it's like the race and the finish line also, or like the fertilizer you put on a tree to make it grow, and also the fruit at the same time. So it's like the thing that you do to purify ourselves to attract Krishna's mercy, but at the same time, when you have Krishna's mercy, you do the same activity, you keep chanting, but it's very blissful, it's very enlivening. So one could go on chanting forever. It said that Ananta Shesh, he has hundreds and hundreds of heads, and he goes on glorifying Krishna, and he can never reach a limit with all of his hundreds of heads or thousands of heads. So as our consciousness becomes more purified, chanting Hare Krishna becomes more tasteful. And we could see this. Sometimes it's a struggle, but sometimes we're chanting together and it's so nice, it's so enlivening. You could just feel the positive energy. It's like permeating the atmosphere. What to speak if you get thousands of devotees together for like some of these kirtan festivals. There's so much devotion in the air. It's like you could almost like cut it and like extract it. So I hope that's helpful at all. Any other points of discussion? Okay, we'll go to the next text. Text 11. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the bards. Purport. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life, according to religious principles, dharma, should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Krishna conscious. So the thing that binds us in this material world is this false ego, this ahankara. And what's the false ego want to do? It wants to put us in the center. I am the center, and my enjoyment is the most important thing in the world. And when something jeopardizes my enjoyment, oh man, they're going to get it. You become angry, you become frustrated, you think life doesn't make sense. So here, Prabhupada's making the point that the strong man, he uses his strength to protect others, to do his duty in society. Sex life, it's not all about just me enjoying and exploiting another person. It's actually about creating another person, and then that has so many responsibilities that come with it, which when done in the proper way is very purifying. To selflessly work for some person that I grow up to hate you. Anything's possible, you know. So this is the Vedic path, you know, working to be rid of this nirmamo, nirahankara, this possessiveness and this false ego, and learning to put Krishna in the center. And as we'll hear in chapter 12, Krishna gives a progression where if you can't just put Krishna in the center, then you work and you put things above yourself, you know, learning to give up the fruits of your action. But in our modern culture, it's almost taught to be selfish and conceited, which is counterintuitive to developing, you know, spiritual consciousness. Okay, text 12. If anybody wants to stop and say anything, they could stop at any time, but I'll just keep going. Text 12. All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature. Purport. All material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws, one may be punished. The king, the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna. But Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is nirguna, which means that these gunas or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. This is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I'll read the next text and then make a point. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So, oh, Krishna. This had me thinking that when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many prayers of personalities who are in troubled circumstances or somehow come face to face to meet the Lord. And in general, they begin their prayers with the glorification of the Lord. And then sometimes they ask for some benedictions or, some mercy from the Lord. But what I've noticed from reading the Bhagavatam, something that's very congruent between these personality prayers is this point right here. How Krishna is saying that he's the controller of the modes of material nature, which are controlling everything, but he's beyond it. And then Krishna himself says, deluded by those three modes, the whole world does not know him. So to not know Krishna and be under the spell of the three modes of material nature, Krishna is saying to be deluded. But when these people are in this transcendental consciousness, which is showing us how to approach Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam, they're always saying how the Lord is beyond this. So we could think of the whole material world and how big it is, how we can't even grasp it. We could look up at night and see the stars. I don't know if anybody else ever did this, but you look up at the stars and it makes you wonder, because naturally it's so big and you see how small we are. We're just on one little tiny rock in all of this giant thing we call space. So as much as we use our mind and our intelligence, we can never even grasp the totality of this material situation that we're in. Krishna, he designs all this in a perfect working way that it continues to go on and on and on, that people think that they're in control and they're the doer, but they're actually influenced by this environment. Krishna's beyond this at the same time. Krishna's phenomenal in the fact that he's the creator, the source of everything, but he's aloof and unattached from it. He's the biggest of the biggest and the smallest of the small. So I was just mentioning, like we can't even grasp this universe that we're in, the way that nature works in space. But that's the macro, the big things. Equally, the micro things, the smallest of the small. We can't even grasp that. But Krishna is the biggest of the big and smallest of the small. He's everything and beyond that also. So we'll hear later how Krishna describes more and more of his glories, his transcendental characteristics. Yeah.
So, considering all his glories and his and how aloof and also engaged he is, and how do we understand making offenses and not making offenses to this person that is aloof but also engaged? I understand the idea of, like, if you go into someone's house and they have a dog and they care for the dog, and you start like yelling at the dog because the dog is jumping on you, disrespecting the dog, then the owner of the dog is going to be frustrated. And so that's the same way with the devotees. But I still don't understand clearly how Krishna has this like relationship, like how a person has with, like, an animal that they love, or something that they love. I don't know why Maybe you can help me see that.
So let me try to summarize your question that how can Krishna be the creator and be aloof from everything, but still have loving relationships and care for the living entities? Is this the question? So Prabhupada remarks that Krishna didn't want to create this material world. He created this material world based on the desire of the living entities. So the living entities want to enjoy separately from Krishna. So then Krishna, being merciful, gives us an opportunity to enjoy. And the example is given that there's a rich, wealthy father, and his son decides to, run away from his father and do his own thing because he wants to enjoy. His father is always there, ready to offer support and love and attention. But the son has to comply and work with the father in a particular way. The position of the father is to be assertive and set the rules, authoritative. The position of the son is to follow naturally. I mean, nowadays in our modern world, the position is to rebel. But that's our position in this material world. So Krishna is that loving father who's always there, who has all the opulences, all the wealth. He's ready to give you everything and help you and support you in all of your troubles and all of your stresses, all your anxieties, all your problems. But if we don't turn to him, then he won't help us because we want to do our own thing. So Krishna creates this material world to allow us to do his own thing, but he's always waiting and helping the conditioned souls come back to him. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma describes how Lord Krishna is essentially like a connoisseur of rasas. Rasa means like a relationship. So this is a very beautiful aspect right here. You can bring pleasure and satisfaction in a relationship to Krishna that nobody else can. You can serve Krishna and please Krishna in a way that nobody else can please him. Everybody has a unique reciprocation with the Lord. He's, how some people collect like baseball cards or wine bottles or, whatever it is. Krishna is collecting all these different individual, unique, personal relationships. So within that relationship, it's just that. It's completely personal, completely unique. And the more that we advance, we can see that Krishna is personally there in our life, protecting us and guiding us to help us do the right thing, to come back to him, to change our behavior. But if we want to be ignorant to that, then Krishna will allow us to be ignorant. So it takes work of tuning into that, which is difficult for the conditioned soul. So this is why we follow the authority, the instructions given by the spiritual master, because he is helping the conditioned souls to come to that platform to see how Krishna is his ultimate friend. In this way, the spiritual master is offering shelter. And the relationship between guru and disciple is of that firm friendship. It's based on servitude, but there's a fixed, firm friendship that, man, this person has he has no want to exploit me. He doesn't want anything from me. He doesn't want to harm me. He may chastise me, he may praise me, he may give me instructions, but it's all for my benefit because he's not in want of anything. So all I want to do is serve him because he's blissfully situated in this transcendental consciousness. And if I serve him and he becomes pleased, then Krishna, he becomes pleased. So this is what we sing in the morning during Mangal Arati. That the spiritual master is a very dear friend of Krishna. And by serving him, Krishna automatically becomes pleased. So I'm kind of diverging from that point into Guru, but I feel like it goes in connection because the Guru is the manifestation of Krishna within our life. And then we can judge our relationship with Krishna based on our relationship with our guru. If we have like a real loving, open friendship, ready to serve and ready to surrender to our guru, then it's non-different from Krishna in that way. But if we are, not wanting to follow instructions and hesitant and doubtful, then we're mostly doubtful of Krishna. So in short, Krishna loves all of us. We're all individuals. He does not have anything to do with this material world, and all the sufferings and pains you feel in this body, in this persona of who we think we are, isn't actually real. You're not your emotions, you're not your feelings, all those most terrible things that happen to you, the most happy moments that happen to you, they're all temporary and fleeting. Krishna knows this, and he wants to help us come back to reality, which is like waking up from a bad dream. So Krishna's always there, like by your side. Wake up, Eden, wake up. It was just a dream, wake up. And we're like, no, I'm still trying to enjoy, I almost got the enjoyment. And Krishna's like, okay. And then we have to learn our lesson, because everything in the material world is a dualistic nature. So just the sheer fact of accepting material pleasure means that we're also accepting material displeasure. It's like two sides of the same coin. And these things will naturally come on their own without our separate endeavor. But as we take to Krishna consciousness, we can learn to identify more and more with our constitutional position. It's eternal servant of the Lord as a spirit soul that's eternal, and not with a temporary body. So sorry I'm going over a little time. I hope that answers the question. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur